Let's see.
Welcome to the Common Ground podcast, where stories connect, perspectives collide, and purpose is found in the middle.
Every week, we sit down with unique and inspiring guests that come from all walks of life, people who challenge the status quo, overcome the odds, and live with intentionality.
Whether you're driving to work, on your morning walk, or just looking for that spark to ignite your week, you're in the right place.
Welcome to the Common Ground podcast with your hosts, John Fletcher and Sydney.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Monday Happy Hour, a Ground podcast feature. So we are glad for you to be here today. Sorry for being slightly late. Just learning how to get this working the way we want it to work. So, but we are glad for everybody to be here. I don't know if it's showing up on Instagram, but it should. I do know it's showing on YouTube. And let me just double check real quick to see if it's showing up on. Yeah, we are live, at least on YouTube and Facebook. Instagram, I do not know why it is not working, but the Instagram doesn't seem so. Hopefully you come over to either Facebook or YouTube. If you are on one of those platforms, please share it, and so that we can have more people coming to it. The reason why we moved is that TikTok was restricting our sharing of the lives on Monday, and not allowing us to get this content out. So we didn't necessarily want to leave, but kind of felt forced to leave. So hopefully everybody will eventually join us on this new way of doing things. So, Sydney, by any chance, can you see it on Facebook?
I can.
Okay. And were you able to share it to yours, or is it not allowing that to be shared?
Working on it. There's definitely a delay, but I am working on it.
All right. So, if you are on YouTube, I know for sure that we can see your comments. I will try to keep looking at Facebook to see if you are commenting on Facebook. But if you want us to really see your comments, go to the YouTube. The YouTube is at the Common Ground Project USA. That we can definitely interact with you and see your comments live, and we can comment on those. But welcome to the show, Sydney. How you doing?
I'm peachy keen. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. And how about you, Clover? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great, thanks. Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Yes, good to see you both.
Yes, we are excited. Clover Johnston's episode will be premiering tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can definitely check it out. We are on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. So definitely check out on YouTube. It is, again, the Common Ground Project USA. And on Spotify and Apple is the Common Ground podcast. You can find us there, and you can find Clover's episode tomorrow.
I must add that you said Johnson, and the only reason I throw this out there is because my maiden name is Johnston. And so, you got to get that T in there.
Yes. Thanks for that. Mhm.
So we had a huge snowstorm this weekend over a lot of the
Mhm.
U.S. Were both of you impacted by this snow?
No,
We got snow.
I'm in Florida, so I didn't get any snow, but it was
Yeah.
cold.
No,
The
you wouldn't
holiday
have.
weekend, last weekend was very cold.
Right.
Yeah.
So we got about a foot in the Philly and the surrounding areas. How much snow did you end up getting, Sid?
We only got a couple inches here.
Mhm.
I'll trade places with you any day. There.
Mhm.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, our streets. I mean, our main streets are fine, but as a rideshare driver, having to go on, I haven't even attempted to work the past couple days, and that's not not fun. So
Mm.
Yeah.
so yes, tell us a little bit about yourself, Clover, and tell us what you enjoyed about being on the Common Ground podcast and your experiences as being a guest.
Okay, so I enjoyed being on the Common Ground podcast because I'm trying to get my message out about co parenting and the need for civility, and that's a relationship that it is absolutely necessary on which to find common ground with your ex, because we do not want our children living in incivility, living in acrimonious relationships, and see their parents constantly at loggerheads. Um, so I am passionate about talking about co-parenting, each parent putting their 100% to takes investment in the well-being of their kids, because what we're doing is we would be avoiding generational trauma. And I remember we discussed a number of things that were contentious. Okay, one person may not be able to fully cover what is maybe an agreed financial figure, but the fact that they may be able to do more parenting time to compensate for that, instead of maybe having be flexible with having a fix, that there must be a flexibility and a willingness to cooperate, because as parents we are there to ultimately support our children, and the children should come first. And whatever our ill feelings or unresolved feelings, the children should be aware of that, because it is going to impact our kids negatively. So I enjoyed sharing and talking to you guys about the fact that um, there are many issues that cannot be measured equally,
Hey,
right?
Clover, I'm going to pause you real quick. John, I've got a couple people trying to come on to the live. And they're letting me know that it says this content is not available right now. It's private.
Mm-mm.
On
Facebook.
Facebook. So I'm on my
And I think
Facebook. It's showing on mine,
well,
but
yeah, it would, because it's on your personal profile.
so again, if you definitely want to come in and we can see your comments publicly, if you can come to the Common Ground Project USA on YouTube, we can actually even see your comments live and interact
We
with you.
need to
I'm
have a
trying to.
YouTube link, because they don't have, like, people don't have that link to the live if we're gonna. And I think it's because they have to be friends with you to view it on Facebook. So we need to make sure that everything's. I know that you said that you've gone through your settings and that everything's public, but for whatever reason, it's still not letting. I've got multiple people messaging me. I've got 5 messages so far. All of them say whatever it is, I can't view it.
Okay, I can send on. I can send you a link, or I can post a link on my Facebook for the YouTube. What best would you?
Send me a YouTube link, is what you're saying?
I can send either you a link or I can send a link to like the Facebook.
I would send it to me, but for immediate sharing, and then we should post both in the future.
Okay. Sounds good. Let me go to. Sorry about this.
Sorry,
is
Clover. I
our
just want
first
people
day.
to hear what you have to say, and so making sure that everybody's on.
Sure.
I just sent you the link on Messenger, and I'm just going to post the link also on mine, so it can. See, can I just share it directly to Facebook? Yeah. This way, people have it both. This is the first day recording on a new platform. Issues, we will have that cleared up though, and we will get everything set. Let's see. All right, sorry about that, everybody. Yeah, no, I think it was a great conversation, Clover, with about co-parenting and what. I mean, I know that you've experienced co-parenting, and there's a lot of times people have experienced things in life, but it doesn't push them to really, engage that further and try to help other people in life with the same issues they've done. What was why has this become a passion of yours? Why has this become something that's become very important for you to get out the message on co-parenting and shared parenting?
Okay, so I know that when I was going through it, every fiber of my being was involved. So I was stretched to my maximum capacity, spiritually, emotionally, physically. I was living for my children above everything else. And I was able to look back in that COVID respite period when I had very little going on and saying to myself, this was so disproportionate. I mean, it was totally disproportionate that had I not had the focus and the tenacity and just the children first mantra, I could have ended up with mental illness. And so I really look back every day with gratitude that I am mentally whole and sane, because I was just so unsupported by my ex-husband and my ex-partner that they were really the check-in guys. They were never in the 100%. And therefore, while there was one person steering the ship, and psychiatrists and psychologists say one stable parent will keep the ship afloat. However, it is just too much for one person to be handling it in all aspects. It's not that I was being supported financially and I had an emotional deficit from them. The deficit was on all sides. And so I know that if that happened to me, and with basically 1 in 2 marriages breaking up across North America, that there has to be other people going through this, because especially when it comes to the financial side, it takes basically 6 months, sometimes a year, for you to get a child care settlement in terms of how much gets paid and who gets paid and all that kind of thing. So the financial is not always the most significant, but guess what? Children have to continue living, eating, drinking, going to school. But there's also children can get sick, as happened to me when my kid was, how old is she? 5 weeks. And dad was missing in action. Now, I would have loved if that person was around to check in, maybe accompany me to doctor's visits, because even if you have abandoned, your wife or husband and you are no longer interested in them, guess what? There's a level of support and commitment for that person's emotional well-being, because this is the person who is providing the nurture for your kids. So if you have jumped ship and you're also now undercutting the person emotionally, physically, and spiritually, it means that you don't have the best interest of your children at heart. And as I said, if I have been through it, I know that there are hundreds of thousands of women out there going through it. And hopefully theirs won't be such a long onslaught as mine. However, I want to be that encourager. I want to be the thought leader, that we cannot continue to live in this contentious, because another fact about the co-parenting space, there is a lot of violence in the co-parenting space. And it goes from just constant quarrels right up to murder. And so I know that there is going to be ongoing generational trauma if we don't resolve the tone of the co-parenting relationship and move it from the check-in, let me see what's going on, I'm only handling my parenting time, to a full and wholesale support of your children. Mom is sick and she can't take the kids to school today. Is dad able to drop in? Are we able to shift around parenting time? Whatever the reason is, but that level of flexibility and cooperation, so that the one parent doesn't feel that the other person is always undercutting them and being totally unsupportive, when at the heart of that relationship should be your children, and the mantra should be children first.
Awesome. And I know we only have a short time with you. We got about 8 more minutes. If there's any comments or questions that anybody has for our guests, please feel free to share. So what is I know your episode comes out tomorrow, but what else in the future do you have planned? Do you do speaking engagements? Do you do any kind of like master classes or coaching?
Yes, I do coaching, but something I would like to talk about is that I on March 1, I have a chapter published in Unsilenced Voices, Volume 4, and it will be available on Amazon. And I talk a lot about the issues that I faced as a co-parent, and how out of touch the current system is in supporting parents, especially moms. And I use my story, of course, as a point of reference, and how the gender biases in this relationship, mom as nurturer, father as provider, how these are now redundant, and therefore we need to take a long, hard look at these gender-based values that impact this relationship, and have a real practical review, because they are no longer serving co-parenting families. So that comes out on March 1, and it will be available. So I'm very excited about that. And yes, I also do speaking engagements. And my coaching program is called the Co-Parent Transformation Accelerator. And it's an individualized coaching program based on 3 pillars: the Heal, Grow, and Thrive method, because we need to recognize that when a relationship breaks up, there is a degree of trauma that we're all experiencing. And even what I have learned from talking to tons of people is that even if you did not initiate the breakup, you are still affected by the trauma. And so it is an important component of moving forward and being able to support your children is that you take a hard look at where you are in terms of your emotional well-being, and focus on your healing, which is not an overnight, it is a journey that you go through. And for each of us, that process is going to be different. And also, growth is both personal and professional growth is part of how you overcome what you have gone through. And the thriving comes from connecting with people like me, or in any situation that you're in, with groups or individuals who have walked your journey, who can basically cheer you on, share their insights, share how they handle it, and just, you can do it too, that whole approach. Because when I was going through my situation, I never thought there was an ending to it. And I remember I had a nucleus of supportive people, and they would say to me, yes, you are going to get through. There's going to be light at the end of the tunnel. And I wondered when it would come, and it did, but it took longer than I'd hoped.
We do have a comment from one of our YouTube viewers, and it says, how do you create a relationship with your ex-spouse that will lead to no longer being portrayed as the strict or bad cop parent when the ex waits on the child hand and foot 24/7?
Was that Heath?
That was Heath.
Yeah. So we're actively dealing with that situation right now. Will you read it again? Because I'd love Clover to answer this, and then I want to add to it.
How do you create a relationship with your ex-spouse that will lead to no longer being portrayed as the strict or bad cop parent when the ex waits on the child hand and foot 24/7? And how do you handle being blown off when raising concerns over the child?
Okay, so here's how I interpret that. I interpret that there's one parent that is overly pandering to that child. Right? Is that correct? Right.
Yeah.
And doing everything that they can to buy the love of that child. So
I don't know if in this situation it's so much as like buying the love, so much as it is about avoiding the discomfort of a new divorce with a young toddler. And like, how do you navigate being a consistent parent figure rather than trying to be the Disneyland parent, so to speak, so that the child has consistency in both homes, rather than just trying to portray that everything is fine and dandy in one house and then one parent is stuck with the job responsibility of being the disciplinarian?
Okay, so if the child is a toddler, the parent that is perceived as a bad cop, because this is a time when children are very pliable. You meet the physical and the emotional needs of that child, and you be consistent in your approach to discipline, because you have no control over what's happening at the other house. And this is something I say all the time. Don't worry about what's happening at the other house and on the other side, because you have no control. But you set your boundaries. You set whether it's bedtime, whether it's the diet that you have them on. And that is what is going to prevail at your house. When they go to the other house, if they want them to stay up at midnight, you have no control. If they want them to feed them candy 24 hours, you have no control. So it's about consistency is what matters in a child's life. And they come to expect that is that's a pattern that exists over here at this house for my life. And children adjust and adapt. And in the end, they do not see it as a good cop, bad cop. They just understand that this is what is expected of me. Because when they go to school, kindergarten, that's what's going to happen to them. The teacher says you have to clean up after yourself, and the teacher is not going to do it. And neither is mommy or daddy. So you are setting a pattern of consistency and boundary setting that the child is going to grow to understand, respect, and comply with. And you ensure that you follow through on that.
So when you say that, do you mean that like you're just saying that you can't control the other parent's reaction, and therefore you control the controllables in your own home and ignore the effects therefore that it has on the child?
I am saying that this is a toddler. You are saying as the child gets older, if this becomes a problem, then you are going to have to be doing a lot more work. And you may also need to as they get older, if you find it's not working, you may have to get a counselor to help you out as to how to deal with this, right? But I would not take on the other parent, because tension building is the very last thing you want. And usually, when you take on the other parent, there is a level of hitting back, which is you want the smoothest. There's already tension, but you want to have a situation that is non combative. That's how I see it, non combative. So you will have to handle it if it's not working the way you want as the child gets older. But I do not see, as a toddler, it should be a big issue, but it has the potential to become. And then you would need.
I think that it becomes an issue, like specifically in the instance of divorce. And I know that you have to get off soon, so I will do my best to keep this question short and concise. However, in the instance where one of the parents initiates or goes to file for a divorce and the other parent does not want a divorce, then that the parent that was not in favor of a divorce to begin with becomes spiteful with the child in question. Mm-hmm. So in that case, even if you propose things like counseling, occupational therapy, which is something that we're actively in the process of doing in this specific situation, we're still encountering a hostile co-parenting situation. So when you have somebody that's still very bitter and resentful about a divorce that's already in motion, and then turning around and weaponizing the child despite the child's well-being, mm-hmm. and the divorce isn't final, so there's no official co-parenting like agreement in place. Child support is not something that's been finalized. How then are you supposed to approach somebody that's this hostile and therefore compromising the child as a result? This is just straight out of textbook narcissistic behavior, bottom line.
Absolutely. But if the parent who is trying to be the good cop parent and who is really trying to navigate this, sometimes what I say to people, you have to use a proxy, because the onslaught can be so much. And if it's getting to you emotionally and spiritually, you may have to, maybe for transfers of the child, or certain issues, just to minimize the interface, you may have to ask an older relative or a good friend or somebody to do that for you. So that it just relieves you from a lot of the stress, because it can be highly stressful. And if it's narcissistic behavior, as you say, it literally spews out like toothpaste out of a tube on you. And it does make your life that much difficult. And when you are trying to normalize to support your own child, that is not the behavior that you want to ingest at all. And I agree, those kind of people are never the ones to cooperate with counseling. So that parent, the other parent, would have to be doing that on their own without the knowledge of the bad cop parent.
Well, that's the problem, is that in most states, that once a co-parenting agreement is in place, it requires the consent of both parents in order to do anything when it pertains to question of the child. So you're in a stalemate situation where one parent has let go of the relationship emotionally and wants to do what's in the best interest of the child, and one parent is constantly trying to play this checkmate position on the board. Is like every time parent moves, like, hey, I don't want conflict, I'm just trying to do what's best for the kid. It's like checkmate. Hey, I still don't want conflict, I'm just trying to do what's best for the kid. Checkmate.
It's tough, but as you said, the parenting agreement is not finalized. So that particular parent has to try to do a lot to minimize their stress and how to build boundaries and consistency around the child with as much intensity as possible, so that if and when it's finalized, however that is, much of the pattern that they want to develop, that parent wants to develop, will be already in motion. But it is a tough situation, and it requires ongoing consistency. I'm not going to bat an eyelid. I am not going to back down. This is the plan that I have that's best for me and this child and the child's emotional well-being. It is tough, but you minimize the contact with the other parent.
So how do you handle being blown off when raising concerns about the child or over the child then as a result of dealing with somebody like this? So when like this parent that we're talking about in question is just blatantly ignoring or disregarding the concerns despite the validity presented and it's being overlooked or disregarded, how do you combat something that dismissive?
All right. So here you said something about narcissistic tendencies. If it goes into narcissism, it is hardly going to be co-parenting for a while. It is going to be parallel parenting. That's the direction in which, once the person is an outright narcissist, you will probably head in the direction, because there is probably no communication that you are that in any form that is going to achieve cooperation. So it is tough. I have seen that in action.
Yeah, it's dealing with a narcissist in any capacity. It's like easier to pull your fingernails out, quite literally.
Absolutely.
So before you go, can you let everybody know that when you or how to get a hold of you if they want to continue the conversation with
Okay,
you
so
off this platform?
sure. Thanks for that. So I'm on Instagram as co-parenting coach Clover. So that's one place you can engage with me. You can also engage with me via Facebook through a DM. That would be great. Or johnston.clover@gmail.com.
Well, thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you.
I know you have things to do, but we are going to continue the conversation on here. And we just, again, if you enjoyed this conversation, if you got something out of it, make sure you check out her episode. It comes out tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can find it if you're watching on YouTube on this channel right here. It will be out on this channel. If you're watching on Facebook, if you go to either the Common Ground Project USA on YouTube or the Common Ground podcast on Spotify or Apple, you will find her episode tomorrow. Thank you again. It was a pleasure. All right, Sydney, how's it going? And thank you for your comments. Keep your comments coming. One of the things we will do, the more that you comment and the more that we have guests on here that or people who comment and participate in the show, we'll invite you to be part of the show. We do like a lot of interaction. We do like to have people share their opinions. And so we would love to be able to do that with you today and in the future. So I do like this. I mean, there are ways for us to get you up on here. We can send out a link for you to join us. So just keep coming back. We're here every Monday at 6 a.m. We will try to have as many special guests as we possibly can and have some great conversations. So what do you think about, do you have any, for our viewers, do you have any comments or situations in parenting or just questions that you have about parenting? Both me and Sydney are parents.
And co-parent for that matter too.
So.
And even though I'm not a specific co-parenting coach, my background is in psychology, for those of you that don't already know. And John has a lot of lived experience with everything that we were just talking about with Clover too. Here's what I will say. If your child knows resentment more than they know reliability, that's a problem. And I think that we see that a lot in modern day co-parenting relationships where the child feels and witnesses. I mean, we talk about babies being sponges when we talk about them learning. Why don't we talk about them being sponges when they are constantly witnessing this dynamic of the co-parenting that they live every day? They are sponging up how to have, in their mind, effective relationships. This is a habit that I had to unlearn with my mom having an addiction for most of my upbringing and my dad really struggling from some narcissistic tendencies, I had to unlearn what I thought relationships were supposed to look like in order to learn how to have a healthier functioning relationship. And we're allowing our children to think that this is normal or functioning. So, like, to say it again, if your child knows resentment more than they know reliability, you are the problem.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. There are so many dynamics that take place in parenting. I really think that the biggest thing is that you got to take yourselves out of it and want to do what's best for the children.
100%.
And this was my biggest issue out of high school. That was my biggest. I see an issue in certain co-parenting.
What's the comment?
It says Braden.
Hi, Mary.
Mary, I did. This is the Mary,
It's
which
Mary.
I think.
It is.
Yeah, Mary, I did send you a link if you want to come. Co-parenting situations is loving with guilt.
Yeah, Alex, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, let's dive more into that. That's really cool. I want to hear what you are actually talking about.
I think that's my friend Alex too. Hey Mary, how's it going? Just so we're addressing everybody. Are you
Yes,
Joshua Hughes?
Yeah, that's a whole. It's a really immature person and an ex coworker.
I don't care. I was trying to digress. I did my best.
Who loves to troll and but yeah, I just as long as it's not too bad, I don't mind the trolls because it brings some viewership to us.
You're not wrong. Not all bad publicity is actually bad. That's the truth.
We're doing good, but what did you mean about guilt, Alex? Because
he said he had to log off. He was having issues with his internet, so he might log back on soon, but we'll see.
All right, we're gonna bring up Mary.
Hey guys.
Hey Mary, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing peachy.
Can you scroll back up to our most recent question comment past Alex? There was somebody else that asked a question.
Let's see. It was the question that we talked about. Let's see. That was my biggest issue out of high school, which it was
Braden.
I didn't know what he meant by that either.
Yeah, Braden, which part was your biggest issue out of high school? The consistency part? I think or reliability. I think that's when I was making a comment about being reliable. Reliable over resentful is what I was talking about. So, Mary, how does this play into your situation with your grandson that you basically are mom to?
The co-parenting or what?
Well, yeah, because I know that that's technically not what you're doing. Like, I recognize that he's technically your grandson, but like, how does this conversation in general pertain to your situation with really raising him?
Okay, I'm so sorry. I think I jumped in the middle of this whole conversation, so I guess I really don't understand what we're talking about right now. So I don't know how to answer, if that makes sense.
We were talking about co-parenting in general. So the topic is co-parenting. Okay. We had Clover, who we just release her episode recently, 2 weeks ago?
No, it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay, so her episode is live tomorrow. She's a co-parenting coach, and she is a proponent of parents having equal rights so long as they're both healthy individuals and ultimately doing what's in the best favor of the individual or of the child. I would argue that she leans towards women's rights more than I do collectively. Which is ironic given the situation, like the lived experience that I've been through. But I do think that women tend to weaponize children against men statistically a majority of the time. I think that I'm kind of the statistical anomaly for things that have happened to me where I am in opposition of the actual policy that I support on a legislative level. But we were talking about how like healthy co-parenting isn't about who's in charge. It's about who shows up emotionally regulated. It's about the consistency that a child gets. It's about not weaponizing the child in order to leverage whatever form of control you are trying to propagate over having the other parent. So that's kind of where we left off.
Okay, so for my situation, it's a lot harder because we actually raised our grandson from the time that he was um 3 months old basically until he was 1. And our lovely justice system was rushing to close a case to the point where they told us, they sat at my table and they told us that if our grandson is with my husband and more than a year, then it's harder for them to remove him and place him back with the parents. So they removed him, and I am not shitting you when I tell you guys this, 11 months and 7 days to the date of when we would have had him for a full year. So this whole co-parenting thing is really hard for me specifically, is because, well, and it's also hard for my husband because it's she uses our grandson as a pond. And like, gosh, so like yesterday there was, not to go into too much details or anything like that, you guys, but there was something that happened. It was so stupid, and um she just took him, and we can't do anything about it because we're not his legal parent guardians. So it's just really hard to co-parent with her, or just try to have a logical conversation, just because it's just the whole situation is just hard.
That's because it's emotionally driven. And I think that it's important to draw the distinction. And the reason that I say that is because people that need the other person, the other parenting figure out of convenience, will weaponize the child at any opportunity that they get.
Oh,
So because
absolutely.
she knows that she can leverage him in your life, anything that you do where she realizes her trump card or her power play is to take him from you, that's what
Yes.
she's left to do. Now, quite literally the exact same thing pretty much is going on, not just with me, but like this other situation that Heath mentioned is like, it doesn't matter what she's doing. Like, we don't care what you go to take the kid to do. Your mom, go do it. But as soon as there's something that's suggested from us, like, hey, we should probably do this or consider this, it's like, no, she doesn't need that. No, we're not going to do that. And then it becomes a power play. It's just a trump card about now it's not about what's in the best interest of the child. When you're convenient for me to take our daughter to gymnastics, when you're convenient for me to take her or watch her so that I can do XYZ, I'm going to utilize that. But the minute that you suggest something that falls outside of the boundaries of what I deem appropriate, or that no longer really benefits me and my ego, now I'm going to use the child as a weapon.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not, she doesn't, and when you were talking about how women, um, you,
Weaponize?
yes, thank you. It's not just the women, because my ex
No, it's not. Of course
did
it's
it,
not.
right, but he did the exact same thing with my kids. He used them as a pawn, and there was, it's just, I can give you guys scenarios after scenario, and it's really hard to co-parent with somebody that is wants to destroy the relationship that you have with your children, just to benefit, or just to have, just to benefit them, period. And that's what irritates me the most, is because my kids are now 28 and 25, and I still am dealing with the same BS that happened 27 years ago. My daughter will bring up stuff that happened. She couldn't even remember the stuff that would happen. And I would talk to her about it, and then she'll go talk to her dad about it. Well,
Of
where did
course.
she get it from? Her dad. So so hard to co-parent with somebody that wants to destroy everything about a good, healthy relationship with another parent. And it's just, enough is enough. These are the children, these are the people that we're supposed to be protecting, and yet for some reason it's sidelined. It's
Well, this has kind of been my issue. Like, my issue with this episode, you know, is kind of, although I think it's greatly needed and it can give hope. Like, the thing that I love about Clover, she talked about, like, this is what it should be. But my issue is that I think what she talks about is rarely accessible. Like, because I think, like, true shared parenting or true co-parenting truly is a minority. And I think more people deal with issues with trying to co-parent with, and we speak about what co-parenting should be, is like, but so many people are dealing with issues with the other parent, and we're not getting into the real issue, is like, the issue should be the kids. Like, we need to take egos out of it. We need to take emotions out of it. But nobody's talking a lot about that. Everybody who talks about co-parenting talks about, well, communication and this. But how can you have good communication? How can you figure things out if, dude, people are holding grudges or holding, you know, or don't want to see you succeed with your kids. You know, you can't get to like, that's like, I guess my issue is, like, I think
That's so true.
there's so many people, like, that's why when in the podcast I go, you know, you're dealing with hurt people who have, you know, who are hurt with each other and trying to raise a kid. It's a really, and I think it's more common because I hear, you know, and today everybody's a narcissist. And I know you talked about it, like, we over generalize narcissists.
I do
But
think we use that term a lot.
But there are a lot of men and women who don't want to see their kids happy, who think that if my kid is happy with the other adult, they won't want to be with me.
I don't know that it's that they don't want to see their kid happy. I think that it's that they prefer the other person to be in emotional distress, because in their mind that should be the perceived consequence. What they fail to realize is that children don't need to see you win against the other parent that you're arguing and bitching at. They need to see you win against your own damn triggers. They need to see you win against yourself. It doesn't matter that this relationship failed. Relationships fail statistically over 50% of the time. Like, divorces it's half of them that fail. They need to know, our children need to know, do you have a grip on yourself?
I don't know. I sat there and I was in a conversation with my daughter, and we were talking about her graduation, and the mom was like, I'm the reason why she got number 2 in the class. I'm the reason why she graduated with this. I'm the, because, like, I feel like that's what the parent wants. The parent wants the child to think that they're the only reason why they succeeded, you know, and that the other parent is garbage. I really believe that there is this between, and maybe it's just because I've lived that experience, but I think that I've sat in and I've had conversations where, you know, I've had mothers be like, well, this person has, you know, doesn't deserve to be around my kid. This person has has hurt me, and they're gonna hurt the kid, and they're, but like, they're garbage. Well, you have to allow your kid to come to that conclusion. You can't come to that conclusion for your kid. If you come to that conclusion for your kid, if you force your kid to think that their other parent is is wrong, is bad, then if they later on in life they reconnect with that parent and they find out that that parent isn't what you said, who's now the evil person? You, because you now kept that person from having a relationship with that person. And that's what I try to tell those people who do that all the time. It's like, you should never be a stumbling block. Now, if your kid comes to you and says, I can't stand the other parent, I don't want to be around the other parent, and that's their choice, then you need to protect them for them. But you shouldn't be protecting them because of your feelings on the other parent.
The other thing, though, too, John, is that the other parent, regardless of who it is, they don't want to see the other parent happy and having that healthy engagement with their kids, because then they're going to see themselves as
less.
Exactly. That's just like with my ex. We had my son. We had to go to a meeting because as a freshman in high school, he was failing all of his classes and he had to take summer classes. Okay. And as we walking out of the meeting and stuff, my ex goes to my son, well, you can pass as soon as you ace all of those. What is it? The test, you'll pass the classes. And I looked at my son. I was like, do you know the material? He goes, no. I was like, then how do you think that you can actually pass this if you don't know the material? My son goes, thanks, Mom. And I'm like, no, I'm being realistic. If you don't know the material, how are you going to do good on these tests? With my ex, he's always tried to be up here and he wants everybody else down here, because then he wants to feel like he's king shit, basically. And I mean, it's like I told my kids before, my ex will buy them. I won't buy my kids' love. And
okay, that's a really good. So Braden just said, and there's a couple things that were said. Heath added to his comment. He said, constantly blowing off any concerns because if it's not her idea. Like, in other words, if it was her idea, but he contested it, it'd be World War III. But if it's his idea, then she just contests it because of the principle of the fact that he brought it to the table. In the same breath, Braden said it's because of the dynamic. A lot of the times the moms know that they can do it more without the same repercussions. I disagree with Braden's comment specifically, and here's why. The reason that I disagree that they think that they can do it without the same repercussions, the legal system is increasingly treating men and women with the same regard. So I think that it's inaccurate on a legislative level, state by state, for I'd say 80% of the states, close to say that the same narcissistic behavior that's demonstrated in parent A versus parent B wouldn't be treated on the same level. What I will say, however, is that men are more resilient to emotional abuse because they have been trained to have a lesser reaction. Society tells men, don't show your emotions. You're not allowed to have them. You're supposed to be the stronghold. You're supposed to be the brick wall. You're supposed to be the fortress, the provider, the protector, all of this. So emotional abuse, because it's not something that is inhibiting supposedly day-to-day life, or not supposed to be presented as something that inhibits day-to-day life, men have this fortitude built up where it's like, whatever, I can take that. Is that healthy? No. Should we address that in men? For sure. But I think that women abuse the fact that most men will tolerate this type of passive-aggressive manipulation for the sake of not having to go back to court.
I would agree with you because this whole thing about the divorces and stuff like that is so messy, and you're right. It's you're running on emotions, and if we could take the emotion out of it, which is really, really super hard to do, the kids would be the focus. I mean, I have a friend who her and her ex get along really well. And I strive to have when I was a lot younger with my kids, that type of relationship with their father, because it's like, we're going to be in each other's lives for the rest until one of us goes. So it's just, it's really hard, because that's like I was telling my daughter, because she's going to have to be dealing with her ex-boyfriend here pretty soon, I think. I don't know. It all depends on the courts. And it's just like, you can't say that kind of stuff in front of my grandson. And, because she only talked about him once, but it was in a negative way. And I was like, you can't do that, because, my grandson's going to hear it and he's going to repeat it. And it's not healthy, so I try to give her those guidance, because the kids are the ones that are the ultimate ones that they're in the crossfires regardless, because I came from a nasty divorce from my parents.
Yeah. And this is a great conversation. We are going to have to wrap it up.
I'm okay.
Oh, you're okay?
I'm good.
Okay.
John, you're always leaving us.
No.
He was honoring my time. I thought I was going to have to go get kids.
Oh.
So we can continue.
How is your little guy? Is he doing okay?
He's okay. He broke my heart the other day with his little baby noggin, but he's totally fine.
Okay.
I will say that the pediatrician aggressively cleaned out something that did not need that kind of if you're going to pay your copay, you might as well make sure everything's fine. But it was probably more traumatizing getting his little head wound cleaned out than the actual hit itself was. She cleaned the shit out of that. It was so wildly unnecessary.
She's in there scrubbing it.
She was well, it's one of those pressure things. She had soap and saline, and then the little cup that they put over his head or whatever. And she's squirting this in hard into this tiny little, and she was trying to make sure that it wasn't deep enough that it needed a stitch or something like that. But he was screaming, and Arrow started crying because her brother was in distress. And so everybody's having a meltdown. I almost cried just because everybody was crying. So I'm like, what else do I do?
Oh my gosh.
It was no good. I hate when my babies are hurt, but he's totally fine. Bless his baby heart though. He was walking around a week ago, and he hadn't put socks on with his shoes, and nobody knew it. So on top of hitting his head, he's got major blister scabs on his feet now because nobody was aware that he put his shoes on without socks. He knows better than that, and he just was he just threw them on his feet, and so he's just been an injured wreck. Between his little blisters in his head, he's just so melodramatic. He walks around I'm hurt. I need medicine.
Oh my goodness. That's too
He cracked me up. Oh, Arrow asked about you today.
She did.
Yeah, she was cleaning, or no, sorry, I guess it was last night. It was late last night. So they were playing in their playroom, and it was this morning too. They were playing in their playroom, and we told them that they needed to clean up their toys. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I need to clean up so that Miss Mary doesn't have to do it for me." And I was like, "That's right. It's not Miss Mary's job to clean up our toys." And then this morning she goes, "Mom, did we finish the playroom? Because I don't want Miss Mary to be mad at me because I didn't clean up all of my toys." And I was like, "Miss Mary would never be mad at you. We just don't ask Miss Mary to clean up after our mess. That's not Miss Mary's job."
Oh.
Yeah.
Your kids are the best. Oh my gosh.
That we all love Miss Mary. That's our household. That's our household MO. Is we love Miss Mary.
Thank you. I love you guys too.
Of course. What did Brayden say, John?
If it were true, I would have been there at the birth of both of my kids. Not neither. Also, all the bash on the internet against a co-parent is a lot of the way women bashing men of not being around when it takes 10K just to fight to meet a kid when a mom has presumed custody at birth.
Mom has presumed custody at birth, and I wish somebody would have told me that actually, because my situation would probably be different. But just because they have presumed custody at birth doesn't mean that the dad can't backcharge, because it's technically that both parents have presumed custody if there's no contention of paternity. And so unless the mom wants to go around making up fathers, it's actually considered a form of kidnapping to not inform the father of the child's birth. So this gets into a legal like kidnapping thing. Now, if the father makes no effort to come forward, in most states it's 7 years, then they've forfeited their rights. But those charges can wind up and backfire on the mom when it's like you knew who the dad was the whole time. The same way that a mom can be charged with false information or whatever the legal terminology is for it if you falsely put a father on a birth certificate knowing that that's not the biological father of the child.
Shouldn't there be some type of repercussion for falsifying documentations? Because I mean,
there is. Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's falsifying documentation. But it's like it falls under a different subcategory, and I can't remember all the details. But yes.
Okay, because I just think it's stupid when people falsify documentations just because it's just, I don't know. I just think it's stupid.
Yeah, and this is something I agree with Braden on. He said it still costs money to try and even get to court.
Of course.
Yeah, so. No, I mean, that was one of my contentions on stuff, and yeah, this is a wonderful conversation. I do want to take time and just say, listen, we have conversations each week. If there's certain conversations you would like to hear us talk about, please let us know, because we will definitely have those conversations. We are here every Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Mountain Time. And so please make sure you subscribe, like, and make sure you hit that alert button so that every Monday you can get an alert that we are live. And we're looking forward to being on this channel and growing this. And so if you enjoyed this content, then please share it. Please recommend it to a friend. And like I said, if there's anything you want to talk about, let us know. We'll have those conversations.
So am I allowed to ask people in the comments questions?
Yes.
Okay. Braden, I don't know if you can answer if this is too personal for you or not, but why weren't you at the birth? Was it because the moms didn't tell you, or was it something more complicated? To me, that is something so important that a father is there at the birth of their child, regardless whether or not you guys get along or not. That to me just breaks my heart. That I'm sorry.
I don't know. It also costs it does me too. I mean, like, I get it. And that's part of the thing is that people make it sound like it costs a boatload of money to go to court. If there's a contention for a custody case that's not in place, it costs like $150 for a small claims court maximum. And I think that this is just people having loads of excuses for why they need an attorney or why they need this or why they need that. These are usually small claims court cases. And not to omit from the severity or the fact that it's like it's a serious thing, but like, and it's the emotional gravity doesn't go away. Should you have an attorney if you can, if you think that the case is that serious, great. But like, for me, I'll always fight for my kids rather than not fight for my kids. So if that's $150 or $150,000, like, there's literally nothing standing in my way of that. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care.
I totally agree. Because it's like that saying that if you want to piss off somebody, you don't want to piss off a mom, because then she's gonna, she's gonna come after you with both barrels, basically.
Yeah, exactly. He said both moms didn't let me in the hospital, and it's like, did you know that they were being born? My question is like, did they tell you that the kids were being born and then they didn't let you in, or did you not know, and therefore that was the, like, in your mind when you're saying that they didn't let you in, it was that the information wasn't shared that the children were being born. The reason that's relevant to me is because I think that Brandon would say I didn't let him in the hospital with my oldest daughter. And that's not the case. I didn't not let him in. I probably wouldn't have if he had showed up, but he didn't even know when my daughter was born because I believed him to be that legitimate of a threat based on demonstrated behavior. So it's not that I was being an asshole and saying like, hey, you can't come to the hospital, but just so you know, our kid's being born. I just didn't say anything. Like, I went ghost for over 3 months.
Well, and the other thing is, though, too, is that if there's like something going on, because I know a gal who, something happened with the father that was really scary, and she actually, I think, gosh, this was like 7-8 years ago now, where she had to let the hospital know that he was not allowed regardless, whatever that situation was. I mean, that I can understand, but just, I don't know.
He said, while you're thinking, he said that both of them said that he wasn't allowed at the hospital before the birth. And I think that that's like an instance where having men that respect that, I appreciate.
Mhm.
However, I will say, and I'm not justifying this in any capacity because the situation can be very different in lots of situations, right? But like, there's a difference between, there was a point where I told Brandon, I don't want you at the hospital. Don't come near me. Don't talk to me. And I was testing, like, are you going to improve? Are you going to fight for me? Are you going to do better as a dad and a father? Was it right? Was it healthy? No, I was 21 years old. But then there was the point where I was like, this dude is a serious danger. And all communications ceased and desist from that point forward. And that was my serious, this is a no-go. And then I told the hospital, this dude's not allowed here. If anybody or any member of his family comes, like, here's documentation of police orders and XYZ. But like, a woman just saying, I don't want you at the hospital, or like, I don't want you to be there, a lot of the times, as immature as it is, and as much as women, we need to work on how we address hard conversations. A lot of that's like, are you going to get better for me? Because right now I feel insecure. I feel unsafe. I feel like you can't protect. I feel like you can't provide. And this is my way of saying that if you're not going to step up, then I'm going to do it. And I don't want you present. We see this in marriages. We see it in relationships.
So I want to comment here. So let me give you one example, and then I want to speak on something. But so my daughter told me not to come to, my oldest daughter told me not to come to her graduation, and but I showed up anyway. I showed up. Good. But it was thrown in my face, and it's been thrown in my face. And this is the thing, like, you know, even there, like, she didn't talk to me that whole day. It wasn't like, oh, I went there, it was a test, and you know, I know, I'm pretty sure she's graduating college this year. I'm most positive that I won't have an invite, but I won't even know, you know, where it's at or anything else. This one, because it was high school, I just looked up the high school. I could look up the high school. I could go there. I could rent a hotel by there. But I know with colleges, they have separate, they don't always do just one graduation. You know, they have multiple ones. Like, I don't know. And, but like, and Sydney, like, about you, everybody knows you ain't taking shit from anybody. You're going to go and make sure that you get what you want. But there's some people like me who are like, okay, I want to see the best in both situations, right? And anytime that I've been with my ex, who also is a bit like, I call him Pitbull, like, she rules the conversation. She rules. Anytime that I've been out somewhere, she will flip my words. She will make me look like I'm the idiot. And it's, you know, and it isn't until somebody actually experiences something when she wasn't expecting it that they actually see, oh, John was telling the truth all this time. But so with that, it's like, why am I going to pay $3,000 or whatever it costs to go into a court for the judge to be the same way with me? I'm not going to, like, she's going to flip whatever situation I bring up. She's going to turn it. She's going to flip it. And because I've seen it, everybody just, like, she is really good in making people see her point of view. And so why am I going to take money when I don't have the money to go somewhere and be told no anyway, because and it sounds like, I know for you it sounds like, oh, that's just an excuse. It's just I've lived it. I've fought.
No, I don't think that it's an excuse by any means. I think that this is the point where accountability becomes really crucial in the women that put out these tests. Heath's comment above Braden's most recent two said it's a test. Like Heath has lived the same type of like this behavior his whole life from a like variety of different sources. And I think that women just don't know when to stop a lot of the times. When women don't feel secure, there's almost nothing off the table for what boundaries we are willing to test, because we are looking for the person that's going to step up and provide that security. And come hell or high water, damn it, we'll make you look like a little bitch. And again, it's not healthy, it's not effective, but women haven't been taught what it looks like to be loved and provided for in a way that's constructive, that doesn't threaten. If all of it is a perceived threat, and until I know that I'm safe, if you're in my way of that, then your ego's on the line. And so regardless of if you show up to my graduation, like I'm gonna be honest, and I'll use the relevant example. Like, you know that my dad and I just had a huge blow up in December, and that my birthday is coming up. Honestly, if he were to text me on my birthday, now the healed version of me would say thank you. Like, I love you. I'd like to talk sometime. But God damn it, 2 years ago, if he had texted me and the exact same thing had happened, it would have been like, F you. Like, why are you texting me now? Like, you just reserved all of that until now. I would have ripped the dude's head off. And so what does it take then? What we should really be asking is, like, what in my daughter is so broken that is still hurt by my continuous showing up? Like, what then as a man is like, and I'm not a man, but like, this is from my perspective as a woman, and what I needed of my dad is like, what response can I provide to my daughter to appeal to whatever's still broken in her?
Well, that's just like, okay, so that's just like this, like what happened yesterday with my daughter and I, you know, because we went to church, and after church, Toby and I were in the car, and he's like, "Are you mad at me? Did I say something wrong?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just analyzing what could I have said, or what could I have done differently to have a different type of a dialect with her, you know, because her and I swear, we're just like, we're the same, but the difference is, though, is that you can sit down and have a decent conversation with me. Her, the minute that she's instantly pissed, there's like no reasoning with her. That's it, you know. So it's just like, I don't know how to fix my relationship with my daughter. I don't know exactly. She's told me that I need to apologize, and I'm like, apologize for what? She goes, you need to apologize for how you are a parent. I'm like, I will never apologize for being a parent, one, because whatever I did was to protect you as a person, because the other person would just look at you, cock his head, and be like, I'm really disappointed in you, because, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. And it's just like, are you effing kidding me? No. If I did that kind of stuff back when my dad would have thrown me out of the house, not literally, but he would have been like, dude, you're done. I'm done. I don't know what else to do. You can just move out, go do what you need to do, you know. But nowadays it's just like, you can't hold anybody accountable, because it's like, you're being too mean. You're hurting their feelings. Are you kidding me? Feelings are now involved, because what they just did hurt my feelings, and now I got to be respectful towards them. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just like with my daughter, when she was pregnant with my grandson, I didn't know that she was pregnant until she was 6-7 months pregnant, and my whole entire family knew but me. And that broke me. That really crushed me, because I'm like, why wouldn't you tell me? That's my daughter. That's, So I get what you're saying, Sid, when it comes to, what could your dad say or do to fix. I don't know, because I think of the same thing as.
I don't think he knows what to say, and that's okay. And I'm not saying that parents do have to know. I'm just saying that, like, we just had a co-parenting coach on, and on my life, if I close down all of my businesses tomorrow, one coaching business I could be a millionaire off of is restoring relationships between grown children and their parents. Like, I know what needs to be done. It's just that here's the thing. If my kids come to me, and I've had to think about this a lot, because one day this will happen to me, and I'm not sure which of my daughters it will be first, but it will be one of my two girls that will come to me first, and they're going to want an apology. One of them will, and I think that at some point both of them will, but for two very different reasons. I think that Emberlyn will want an apology that I didn't believe in myself enough to trust that I was what she deserved, and whether it's said in those words or not, I think that the moral of it will be that you a relationship with you, and my life has looked very different than it could have if you had chosen to raise me. Now, the people who know me that are watching this know that the decisions that I made were very, very based in logic, in the safety of co-parenting with her biological father. So does it then mean that I don't apologize to her because I didn't make that decision solely based on my inability to trust myself or my ability to be a mom? Or does it mean that I instead I can explain to her the full dynamic of why I made that decision and still take accountability for the fact that I didn't believe in myself, and that I want to pay her that apology, not because she's 100% right necessarily in what she's asking for an apology for, but because she's expressing to me that regardless of the validity, that I hurt my child. And I can apologize for the feelings that were caused based on perceived actions that she wasn't even there for. I mean, we're talking about, these were babies when they went through this, like prefrontal lobe not developed, in my case not even born yet. But if that affected the trajectory of your life or your ability to have a relationship with me, I don't really care what the reality of the situation is. I care about your heart. And that is where my dad gets hung up on his ego, is like, I'm not apologizing to her because she doesn't know like what I've actually been through for her. Yeah, I do, from my position, because I went through a lot of it too. Same thing. Am I 100% right? Maybe not. I was a kid when I went through a lot of it. Does it really matter? Is our relationship with our child more important than perceived reality?
I think it's. I think our relationship with our kids and I think what you did, John, honestly, of showing up at your daughter's graduation speaks volume for you. But it's not so much my ego of why I won't apologize, is because I guess, with me, I think that I feel that I did the best that I could. And if it hurt her feelings, I think it's more of like, well, now you can learn from it, because I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a good.
No, but see, I think you just said it, right? You said, I did the best that I could.
Right.
Right? That's what you say to her. You say, you know what? I may have made mistakes, but I did what I thought was best at the time. Looking back at it, yeah, we can always play Monday morning quarterback. We can play Monday morning quarterback on all our decisions we've ever made. But know that when I was going through it, I thought I was doing the best. And if you have hurt feelings, I'm sorry that you felt hurt in that process. But that was the only thing that I thought I could do. I can't apologize for doing the best thing that I think that I was doing for you. We can look back at retrofact and say maybe it wasn't the best thing, but I didn't know that at that time. I did what I thought was best, and that's the conversation that I want to have with my daughter when she's mature enough to have it. But
Right.
Yeah, no, I listen. I understand. We fought. You know, I know both said things. We've both thrown things. We both destroyed things. So listen, I'm not going to sit back and say that what I did was great. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if she sits back and gives me the opportunity to share where my head was in that space, you know, and part of
Right.
it was that I was in a very mentally unhealthy place, you know. I was feeling my feelings. I can explain my feelings that I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
And was she part of the, you know, the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the damage that's not direct but kind of outward collateral, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Did some of the collateral damage of what I was going through come on to her? Yeah.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, I think that's
Yes.
with all of us. That's
But it
you
takes
know,
maturity. It takes maturity from two people to have those kind of conversations.
absolutely.
And 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 that's even with co-parenting and in it comes down to co-parenting. It takes a maturity to sit back and be like, okay, let me take myself out of this situation. Let me look at what's best for my child. Let me look at what's best for the situation. And can I do it without bringing up the past? Can I do it without bringing up the emotional feelings I have towards this person? And this is the thing that I think real co-parenting classes should be focusing on, not the actual communication. Because I think once you can deal with that, then you can get to the communication.
Mm-hmm. I think though, John, is that I think that both people have to heal, from the thing, and that's like I was telling my ex because I can't remember the whole conversation. I mean, but it's just like, why do we have to keep bringing up the past? I'm like, you've moved on clearly. I've moved on. Why do we have to keep digging up old bones? Why? What is the purpose of it? And he's like, well, the kids asked. And I'm like, but why? Why are they asking these questions? Because obviously something was said that triggered these questions. And but you're right. I mean, as long as the two individuals that want to sit down and actually have the conversation, whether it's my daughter, I'll never sit down with my ex.
I feel you.
I'm
feel
not going to say anything because we're live and I don't want this to come back to bite me. So
I don't think that it can come back and bite you. I mean, like, I'll never have communication with my daughter's biological dad or perceived biological dad because honestly, they never even did a paternity test. And like, I'll be damned if I claim that he's her dad now when they tested the other individual. Like, they never tested him, so like, I don't know. But like, there's also no need to have that communication with that individual because that individual's actions will eventually tell your child what they need to know. Like, apologizing for the emotions that are at play without apologizing for how you handled the situation, and in the case of that child now being a parent, be like, exactly what John said, like, I did the best that I thought that I could, and I'm human and I mess up because like that's the nature of being human. My parents messed up. I was doomed to fail you because I'm human. You are doomed to fail your kid because you're human, and one day you'll have to apologize to him or her too. But I'm really curious because I want you to be able to do this better than I did. How would you have handled this with your child now? And you turn that on them because here's the thing. It's like reverse psychology, okay? Uno reverse, but also it's going to make them more cognitively aware of the struggles that you went through to do the best that you could for them, and hopefully get them to be cognitively aware enough to break that cycle if it was that damaging perceived or in reality to them emotionally or mentally. Like, I want you to do better for your kids. What would you have done differently?
Right. And see, that's funny that you brought that up because my daughter told me one time, and she was trying to put it to me as more of an insult. And she told me, she goes, one day, she goes, when I have kids, I'm going to be a better mother. And I'm like, I hope you are. I truly do, because then that tells me that you have learned from my mistakes, my mother's mistakes, my grandma's mistakes. Even, I mean, my thinking is that there's like a generation of things that happen to people to make them who they are and how they perceive it, how they do. I mean, that's just my thinking of it. So it's just, so that's what I told my daughter. I was like, I do hope that you are a better mom than I am, because that just proves that you have learned from my mistakes. And then there was one time where oh gosh, she was here for a visit. And oh my gosh, something was said, or something was, I can't remember exactly what happened. But I looked at her and I was like, why would you do that? Why would you say that to him? And she goes, well, that way he can feel the way that I feel. And I'm like, what? She goes, I want him to feel the way that I felt. I'm like, so you want to inflict whatever emotional pain that you had as a child onto your child so he can understand how you feel? I'm like, that's messed up. So I don't know.
It takes a level of emotional maturity that, quite frankly, not a lot of people have. And that's why I think that, like, people reproduce very carelessly, quite frankly. Like, people reproduce without a lot of thought. I think that a lot of the times it's used as a manipulation tactic, like, even before a child's conceived. Like, I'm afraid of losing this person, and so therefore I'm going to tie this person down. I think that there's a lot of things that go into it. I wish that I didn't feel like that was the statistical majority, but I do, based on what I see today. And I just think that making it so that it's not about ego, which is really hard for people in the cognitive moment, especially when we're dealing with somebody that's caused us hurt too, because I know that I've caused my dad hurt, but as my father, I would be lying if I said that I didn't believe that it was still his emotional responsibility to bear the weight of confronting that conversation, as difficult as it may be. Does he have to continue to engage if somebody's being, like, not constructive or unhealthy in responding to the conversation? No, like, you're never obligated to continue in a conversation or a dialogue that's not constructive or healthy, but initiation, I think, should be on the person that bears the weight of the responsibility of the relationship.
Right.
I would argue the same thing for marriages. Like, I see a lot of guys say, like, well, she needs to apologize first, like, this was her fault. Maybe it was. Are you a leader? Are you a provider? Are you the head of your household from a biblical foundation? If so, suck it up, buttercup. Like, you're initiating that conversation.
I agree.
Suck it up, buttercup. I think that is a fabulous way to kind of wrap up this episode.
That's our key takeaway, is suck it up, buttercup. Key takeaway from today's episode?
No, but it would be a great title.
Fair.
It would definitely be a great title, too.
We'll put that on the title when we share the live afterwards, is suck it up, buttercup. ... Watch for more context.
Oh, that's too funny, you guys.
Well,
It's not as good as, have you ever tried to breathe underwater?
No.
That's good too.
That was so fun. We had Sarah crying.
That was definitely directed to me.
I was talking to John. I was like, have you ever tried to breathe underwater?
Oh, wasn't that?
It was a clip. We clipped it.
Oh, because I was gonna say, wasn't that part of one of the podcasts that I was on? Because I remember you.
No, it was a live. It was a Monday happy hour.
Okay. All right. Sorry, hubby came on.
It was cut it out. It was cut it out. I was doing something about cut it out, and she was like, all right. Well, thank you, Mary, for coming up and spending some time with us.
Of course.
Like I said, we'd love to have more people up here hanging out with us, talking about different issues each week. If there's a specific issue you want to talk about, then yeah, we'll definitely invite you up and you can be part of the conversation. So reach out, share this. We will see you next Monday. As always, it is our pleasure to be your host for Cindy and I. You have a wonderful night. And thank you to Clover and thank you to Mary for joining us. And God bless and good night.